Hello and welcome to this video where we'll go through the campaign and the monsters, the trials, the free passive points, and how you can go through it on a more easier base. So after you take out Hillock at the end of the beach, the first monster you want to take on is Hailrake. Hailrake is a level 3 monster, 56 life, deals 8 damage, spell and fizz. He's cold based, can freeze you. He has no resistances, but you don't have much ability to do any ailments anyway. The next we have is Dweller in the Deep, but he is a level 6 monster, 85 resistance to lightning. So if you're lightning based, you might want to switch out something just for this guy. He has about 58 life. He does 21 fizz, 21 spell. He will move quite quickly across the room if you're standing on the other side. So his attack distance is 6 to 50 meters. So you can't just get out of there. He will chase you down. But he will also give you a free passive point for doing it. So it is important to do him. Moving on, the next big guy is Brutus. Brutus is probably the first sort of survival DPS guy. He is level 9. His life is 104 roughly. He is sort of tanky for where we're at the moment. 99 armor, 234 evasion. More than likely you'll hit him because he'll stand in front of your face. If you do risk taking a lot of damage. He does 37 fizz and 37 spell. He can one-shot you almost with his slam ability, and he is quite fast. His attack time is 1.65, which is quite nice on a weapon if you have it. His resistances, unfortunately, are 40, 40, 40 for the elemental and 25 for the chaos. So he will take more killing than it sounds. But just running around in a circle, he does have 6 to 11 attack distance. So do be careful, but generally run around and either a Holy Flame Totem or a Decoy Totem will help. The quest you want to look out for Act 1 is the Dweller of the Deep, which we went through. The Marooned Mariner and the Way Forward will all give you passive points. The next one is the main one of Act 1, Mervale. Mervale has 696 health, roughly, level 13, so don't go in there if you're too low. If you're too high, then make sure you have all your damage, because again, she is 40, 40, 40 on resistances for elemental and 25 for chaos. So if you're chaos based in Act 1, you're probably finding it relatively easy compared to others, depending on your damage. Her attack time is 1.455, so she does have a quicker attack time, but she also has minions, so that will be a little bit of a difference. Her attack distance isn't that great, but it's 69, but her second phase does have little water storms coming down, so she will get you from pretty much anywhere in the arena. Plus she has little explodey guys, so you will take some decent physical damage in this fight. Do go in there with heaps of cold, because she is mainly cold, but she does do 35 spell damage, and most of her fizz is converted to cold, so the actual damage is fizz and spell, but it's mainly cold damage you need to be prepared for. And then we're on to Act 2. Now, the only Act 2 passive point you'll get is if you kill all the bandits. I recommend you do, because they split it up. Well, actually you get 2 actually. The plus 1 skill point from killing all the bandits, plus 1 skill point from doing through sacred ground. The first guy you really got to watch out for is Fiddly Litus, and he is a level 16 monster and 605 health. He's not all that tanky. His armor and evasion isn't nothing to worry about. He does do 56 fizz damage, spell damage. His resistances are the same. You'll find that pretty much anyone from now on is more than likely a minimum of 40 elemental res and 25 chaos. His attack distance is only 5 to 14. His attack time is 1.02, which is quite fast. So if you're a melee character, you'll probably want to be tanky and have a dash ability on you. The next three that we'll talk about is the bandits. The first one I'll talk to is Creighton. Creighton is quite elusive. He's got an ability that makes him dash about, so he can be slightly hard to kill, but he is level 16. He's at 864 health. He is one of the easier ones to kill as far as life and damage. He only does 21 fizz spell damage. So he's the easier one, but he does move around a lot. So you will have to have something that you can actually attack point blank when he appears, usually at your back. The next one we'll talk about is Oak. Oak is probably the hardest bandit. All these guys all have the 40-40-40 elemental and 25 chaos resistance as well. Oak regens his health, so Frostbomb helps to stop that. 912 health. He is quite tanky. 360 armor and 527 evasion. His damage is 33 Viz spell, and pretty much as long as you have some sort of regeneration, you'll be fine, plus a ability to either do more damage than his regen, or a frost bomb, or any sort of chill freeze ability to land on him. But he is the hardest of all three bandits, so if you can't take care of him the first time, just go on to Alira, do the rest of the act even, and then come back to Oak. So the last bandit is Alira. Alira is the easiest, except for she has exploding corpse. So if you stand in her little Satan circle, you'll see it. It's easy to see. You'll potentially get exploded for some damage, but as far as anything else, she is quite easy. You just need to get her because she does like fighting at distance. She can attack 6 to 35 because of that corpse explosion. She does have range, but her life is 853. She is not all that tanky. 286 armor, 460 evasion, and only does 29 fizz spell damage. But the more corpses, the more deadly. So the more of her friends you take out, the harder she becomes, pretty much, until you take her out. And then if you're taking all three of them out, go talk to the old guy and get your passive point. Now, the second last creature you need to worry about is the Weaver. The Weaver is quite hard as far as you get webbed, so you slow down, so your attack speed, all that. Dash ability is quite strong here, so you can just keep moving around. Health flasks, make sure you have at least 2 health flasks, 2 mana flasks if you're mana based, which pretty much is everyone, but a lot of the time you're either 1+ fine, 1+ is pushing it, but ideally 2 mana flasks, 2 life flasks just for this boss. 40 elite res, again 25 chaos, level 18. So if you're lacking levels by now, because Oak, you shouldn't really be going up against him unless you're really strong or tending towards the level 19. So you should be hitting that level 20 odd around now anyway, going towards the end of the act. 1211 life for the Weaver, 95 fizz spell damage. Attack time is 0.945, so it attacks fast, plus it has little minions that are very, very annoying. It disappears halfway through. You got to deal with all them, and then it comes back down. Armor is not much. It's just a big tanky creature. It's 321 armor, 493 evasion. But as I said, its main annoyance is the webs and just small arena, lots of things. If you don't have clearing ability or tankiness, then you might find it hard. And then we go on to the last creature, which is a Val Oversoul. Val Oversoul is your boss and does have some huge damage when he wants to. His lightning beam is the most damaging. I couldn't get numbers on it, but the ones you need to watch out for is his overhead slam. He does telegraph it very well. It's a very slow but powerful move, and his lightning beams that you can see big lasers shoot out. That is pretty much the only things you have to worry about, except for the quake. It's physical damage, so don't stand under it. But he does appear, disappear, so he is annoying, and he can be very deadly if he cops you. The trials that you want to look out for are in Act 1, Lower Prison, Act 2, the Crypt, Act 2, the Chamber of Sins, Act 3, the Crematorium, Act 3, the Catacombs, Act 3, the Imperial Gardens. If I remember, I'll go over them again, but they are where the trials are. You need to do 1 in the Lower Prison for Act 1, and Act 2, you require 2, where the Crypt level 1, the Chamber of Sins level 2. So, in Act 3, we have a half piety. The piety that is actually what you're versing, you only have to take out half their life, and then they disappear. So the lightning damage that she does can be quite severe. So if you do have low lightning, then you probably will find it real difficult. She'll probably have around 2,000 life that you got to take out. She's going to have more abilities next time we verse her, but she's not all that big a deal. She'll have probably around 50 to 80 damage, maybe slightly more if you're weak to lightning. Same resistances and stuff as everyone else. Now, there's a lot of running through things, doing quests, doing everything, but the next guy we fight is the General Garivus. Now, in Act 3, Bitario's Secrets and Piety's Pets are the free passive points. So, you pretty much Act 3, it's all about just getting your character underway. A level 29 is the General with 3,024 health. He is quite tanky with 1,016 armor and 944 evasion. He does do 176 fizz spell damage. His biggest attack you got to worry about is the big meteors. He can do that after death. If he's spawned it and then you kill him, that can come down after death. He is a DPS check and a survival check that you can do. You can skip him if you want. But I suggest you take him on just to get a DPS check on your character. But it's totally up to you. Now, Piety, the real one. The real Piety is got 5,604 health. She is quite tanky, as are pretty much everyone else you start fighting. Roughly the same armor evasion as the General with 1,120 armor, 994 evasion. Her damage is around 112 damage with 2 different forms that she can turn into apart from her normal Piety. So you do have to watch out for that. And the Fizz version or the spell version will probably be harder than the other, depending on your character. The act boss is Dominus. He is quite a challenge if you have a weak character attack wise, but defensively you can be quite tanky against him. Only thing is, if he says Touch of God or Light of Divinity, get out of there. That's his big slam, and he can do a lot of damage. His lightning based, his elemental damage resistance and chaos is the same as everything else, 40-25, and his life is 6,458. He's level 33. You should be around level 33, give or take. His fizz spell damage is 111 on average, but he can do higher, and that slam can one-shot you based on crit, based on crit multi, based on the amount of lightning damage that you take versus your full res. So this guy is a very big check leading up to the later acts, so do get your defenses in order against him. He has 2 phases. Corrupting Blood on your flask will help, because the second phase you will bleed very heavily if you do not have immune Corrupting Blood on your flask. So get physical and elemental defense, get Corrupting Blood immunity on your flask, and you should be fine. So we got to level 4, Act 4, and we are going to take on Vol. Vol's the first character we got to go down, get his banner. Vol's harder in the maps than he is in this. So once you get to maps, this guy, you'll see the difference, because this guy is a lot harder in maps. So in Act 4, he has 7,056 life. He has 1,633 armor, 1,212 evasion. He does spawn helpers, but he should be relatively easy depending on how your build is getting along, how your trial went. If you couldn't do the trial, do wait until after Act 4. You'll be bigger, stronger, more gems, all that, and then you can actually go and do that. So if your characters come together, this guy won't be that big a deal. Fizz damage might be a bit of an issue if you're lacking in some of that. So we go do him, and then the next big area that we need to contend is Comb and Dacestro. You can pick either one to do first, depending on whether you want to do left or right first. Dacestro does have less health, but can be actually more dangerous than Comb. We'll go over Comb first. Comb has 11,381 life and is level 38. His armor is 2,351 and 1,460 evasion. They're still having the 40 resistance to elemental and 25 chaos, so that 11,000 doesn't include the resistance to your damage, so you have to do more damage to actually take their life off, obviously. 165 fizz spell damage, but he does call in a meteor strike and minions to help him out, so that can actually be where your fire resistance gets tested, or your fizz, because you can be fine against him. He calls in a little meteor strike and then you die. So you'll be able to judge your ability to survive against him by the meteor strikes usually. Act 4 also only has one passive point. An Indomitable Spirit is the passive point mission, so make sure you got that ticked off. Dacestro is level 38 and 9,442, so less life. His armor and evasion is pretty much on par with what you expect, with 2,351 armor, 1,460 evasion, 150 fizz spell damage. The only difficult part about him is that he phases in and out. You do some damage, he pauses, do some damage, pauses, and his blades. So as long as you keep moving around and doing damage, you'll be fine. After you do those two, the next one is the third time we're fighting Piety, but second proper time, because Piety is now in a different form. The form is level 39, 14,480 health, armor, evasion on par with everything else. 2571 armor, 1528 evasion. Resistances and everything are still the same, except for the difficult part about her is little ball she spawns, little minions, and then she spins around in a circle with a big beam. And if you get distracted or try to do something that takes a little time for you to actually cast, you can end up dying to that because you are just focused on 30 different things. So she is a little harder than what she appears, depending on your character's attack speed, cast speed, your ability to do damage quickly and all that. If you're still ramping, then you could take a lot of damage while you're ramping. But that is a gateway to be able to go through and take on Dodre, Malganaro, and Chevron, which are the gatekeepers to Malachi. Now, we'll start with Dodre. Dodre is the cursed one. Dodre is level 40. She also has 13,997 health. Her armor evasion is on par. Damage is 211 fizz spell damage. And she has 85 fire resistance, nothing else. So as long as you don't go in there doing fire, she'll be taking 100% damage to everything else. The difficult part obviously is that she has the different curses and everything, so hide behind rocks, dodge, move, drop things, and just keep moving around. The next one we'll go over is Malagaro. Malagaro has 85 resistance to cold, nothing else. So if you're doing cold, you'll find it harder against him. He's level 40, 13,997 life again. His damage is 219 fizz spell damage, and armor evasion's on par with everything else. This guy, it's more get out of the spikes he puts on the ground because they'll explode. He's got copies you got to deal with. It's annoying, but you'll find a lot of characters with that mirror ability as a rare throughout the campaign. So just don't do cold and you should do 100% of your damage, and just keep moving and don't stand in his little damage circles. The last one before you get to take on the boss is Chevron. Her arena can be annoying because it's virtually 100% damage. Virtually everything in that arena does damage to you. She is lightning based and obviously does 85 resistance to lightning. And so if you're lightning based, then you might want to either ramp up your damage a lot quicker or swap it out if you can. She's level 40 with 13,997 life again. Same armor evasion, on par with everything else. 169 fizz spell damage. And then we want to stay out of her lightning balls, lightning books, lightning everything else. And if you're standing real close to her, you can't see a lot of her abilities, so she can be one of the hardest of the three, depending on your ability to take damage and deal damage. So if you find her the hardest, then don't worry, she can be. The big boss guy, Malachi. Now you got to do a little phasey thing with killing Piety, killing him. Pretty much just keep moving, don't stand in his tentacles, and you'll be fine. You should be able to get to the second phase of this fight fairly easy. He's back to normal resistances with 40 elemental, 25 chaos, level 40, 21,481 life though. 2,811 armor, 1,597 evasion, 167 fizz spell damage. The hard part comes with the floor. You got to watch out for things on the floor, that little spell traps. The guys that he spawns, they're relatively easy to take out, but they're another distraction that then you could make a mistake and attack something else. He is immune while those little guys are, the big mouth things are up, so do take him out. But pretty much keep moving around. Don't let him, if he disappears, do not stand where he is reforming. But it is 21,481 life. So if it takes you a little while, don't worry. Then we are on to Act 5, which is the halfway point of the campaign. And then the first guy we want to take, the going through and everything, the first Overseer Crow is easy. Even my worst characters can take him out. So the first real guy we got to come up to is Justice Caesar. He is usually quite easy, considering he's got 4,168 life, and we just took out a guy that had 21,000 life. We're sort of ramping towards Catava. Though his armor is better, we have 3,070 armor, 1,669 evasion. His damage is under 11 spell fizz. He has 42 Ellie res and 0 chaos res. Level 41. So if you're well below this point, you might want to try to either go back and do some missions or farm up in the area where you just were up until him. The Act 5 passive points you want to look out for is In Service to Science, Catava's Torments. That will give you passive points. There is no 4 or 5 trial. The trials are in Act 1 to Act 3. I'll go over them in a little bit to remind you. So we go through, we run through, we do this, we do that, and there's no real big bosses or anything for the most part until High Templar Ibarus and his second form. This can be a DPS survival check. The level is 43. The resistances are back to 40 elemental and 25 chaos. The life is 11,980, 3,658 armor, 1,819 evasion. His damage is 220 fizz spell, but that's not the hard part. All his moves and abilities and this, that, they do a lot of damage. And if you can tank this guy without pretty much any problem, your character's in a very good spot right at that time. And his second phase does dashes across, leaving little spark balls around, which can do a lot of damage. You do need your resistances well up there, especially considering you're about to lose 30% of them after you kill Catava. So this is a huge check for your survivability and damage. If you either can't kill him or struggle to the point where it takes you forever, do go through either your skills, abilities, weapons, gears, and upgrade them or get more levels. We run through doing everything and we're back to Catava. Now Catava is a little different. While he still does have the 40 LE res and 25 chaos, the guy has 99,000 health. Level 45, armor 4,350, evasion 1,979. 224 fizz spell damage, but Burning Ground, the explosions that he does, his little helpers when he phases, he isn't exactly just put damage on him type fight. You got to move around, you got to do stuff. If you don't know the fight or you forget elements of it, such as the Burning Ground, you will have issues, so make sure your flasks have burning ground and and ignite, or have purity elements with the flasks having burning ground, and you should be better, but the guy will take a decent amount of damage. So if you can take out Katava quite quickly, then you know your build is in a good DPS spot. If you can survive easily, you're in a good survival spot. So this is pretty much, is my build coming together, or is my build still lacking time? And the trials, once again, is Act 1 Lower Prison, Act 2 Crypt, Level 1 Chamber of Sins, Level 2 in Act 2, Act 3 the Crematorium, Act 3 Catacombs, Act 3 Imperial Gardens. And that's the first trial, and the next trial isn't until Act 6, where we need to also put on 30% extra res, because we just lost 30 res.